If you love talking about cats, but your friends and family are kind of over it, this is the podcast for you. Join your hosts, Danielle Stray Woolley and Elizabeth Calico Gearhart, on the Jersey PodCatss, where everyday cat lovers share funny stories, challenging situations, and ask their questions about cats. All right, let's get right into this episode.
Hey guys, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming back. I'm Stray.
And I'm Calico, and we are the Jersey
PodCatss.
So welcome to the show.
Yeah, and today we're going to jump right into conversation. So the first two episodes were recorded. We had a really hard time making sure we didn't talk forever. But then as soon as we stopped recording, we both thought of more stuff. So that's a good thing. Since we're starting a podcast and we need topics, we've got plenty.
Yes. And if you go on our YouTube channel, you can see us, the Jersey PodCatss. There's a lot to see, but right now you're listening to the podcast. So we're going to act like we're doing a podcast. And I wanted to follow up with a question for Danielle from last time. What was the funniest thing one of her cats has done?
Okay, so this is great because, you know, you're with your cats all day. For those of you who are with your cats all day, you know their personalities and stuff just becomes normal until you start talking to other people and they're like, what? Your cat does what? So when you asked me that last time, I shared about how Loki loved playing hide and seek and he loves being scared. Like he likes to hide and jump out and like go, and he runs away. But the funniest thing he does is every single morning, he has a special morning routine. And what he does is every morning, if we don't wake up early enough for him, he starts making really weird noises and he doesn't really meow. And he doesn't purr either. I don't know if it's because of the type of cat he is. He seems to be mostly Maine Coon. But he charges to the bathroom. And if we don't follow him, he comes back, starts yelling, charges to the bathroom again. We have to follow him. And he gets a morning massage. So when my husband's brushing his teeth or either of us are using our electric toothbrush, he like perks up and he actually plays with it. I'm going to get this on video and share it on one of our channels because it's hilarious. And he like starts trying to eat it, but like doesn't. It's like the weirdest thing to describe, but then he sneezes. So he knows that it makes him sneeze, but he keeps doing it anyway. It's the funniest thing. And then he does not like to be brushed at all. I can't brush him, but he loves to be combed. So we actually have his own special comb. It's like a human comb. And he gets his combing every morning and he sits there like this. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm imitating him. But then the craziest thing he does is we bought toothpaste for one of my other cats who we call him butt breath because his breath smells. But we took him to the vet. The vet said he's okay. He just has stinky breath. So we tried doing the whole toothbrushing thing with the cat toothpaste. All the other ones make gagging faces whenever I try to do it with them. Loki loves it. He goes crazy. Like if I go like this and I start holding it up, he'll try climbing up my arm to get to it.
Oh, so, that's sweet.
So yes. He does really funny stuff that we realize. What about you? Well, Calico, one of your cats, do something funny?
I have Lily. So Lily is a beautiful cream colored cat who came up from Georgia through a rescue. She was at one of the local pet shops here. You know how they have the cat adoption days. And we found her there. She was 6 months old. She'd already had a litter of kittens. They'd already spayed her, but she's just absolutely beautiful. And we could take her home that day. And she seemed to have a nice personality. So first she had to kind of get used to the house. It was at Christmas time a couple of years ago. She was my Christmas present. But she's a funny cat. She's got short legs, but she's really fast. And she's just like, she's kind of like this little, she's not really fat. She's like a butterball with short legs. Anyway, we have a hill in our backyard and we let her go out in the backyard and we have a screen porch. And during the summer, when it's warm enough, we'll leave the door to the screen porch open a little bit so she can get through. And our other cat, Mercutio, who, if you go on our YouTube channel, you can see him behind me. Anyway, she goes to the top of the hill. She runs as fast as she can down the hill, over the deck, through the screen porch, into the family room, and all the way to the front of the house. I mean,
it sounds like a character. Like I'm picturing these little feet. Going,
yeah, little tiny. We call her the Kitty Express. It's so funny to see it in action. She hasn't done it for a while, but yeah, that's a funny thing. And if you're looking at our YouTube channel, I have a new gift for my son for Christmas. It's a artistic rendition of a calico cat, so it's very cool. But we have a guest.
Yay, guest. And we also just had Thor leave. He's not impressed with our show just yet. He'll be back, I'm sure, though.
So do you want to introduce Nicole?
I would love to. So as we've been saying, our whole goal is to bring everyday people onto the show and talk about their love for cats, share a story about cats, anything they'd like. And as soon as I mentioned it to Nicole, my good friend, she said, I am in. And then we talked for, I think last time I talked about Calico and I talking for an hour about cats the first time we met. Nicole and I think we talk every day about cats. Like if we go through our text messages, and we had a car ride a couple of weeks ago, which ended in us going then and playing with cats after the conversation. So she's going to share a little bit about herself. Nothing formal, just saying why you love cats and maybe kind of kicking us off to the awesome Christmas cat shirt that you're wearing right now and your awesome Christmas hat.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm so excited to be here. As soon as Danielle mentioned the podcast, I knew I wanted to be a guest. I said, anytime you want me, I'm always happy to talk about cats.
And I said, good, you're number one. What you doing tomorrow?
Because I'm obsessed with my 3 cats who really are more like my emotional therapy cats because they are just so amazing and so intuitive. And have helped me through a lot of hard times. So I wanted to share on the excuse me, on the show today, this pillow I had made. It's not
cool.
the best picture of my cat. So that's Cal. We call him Fat Boy because he's 26 pounds. And that's his sister Khaleesi. And then this is Kevin, who we got last year on New Year's Eve.
Can you share about
Kevin is pure black for those of you who can't see this. If you're not looking on YouTube.
I'm hoping he'll make an appearance. He was just around, but he just was playing a little too much. So I think he's taking a break. But anyways, I had this pillow made because I was going through some medical things and I was going to be in the hospital for 6 weeks. And 6 weeks is a really long time to be away.
I cannot. Oh my gosh, Nicole. Honestly, I have to break in here. 6 weeks in the hospital sounds like torture to me. Like you have kind of half died and gone to hell. Luckily, you got to come out, right?
Yeah, it was really rough. And every day I kind of woke up and told myself it was tough but doable. But even though my cats weren't there, they still helped me get through it. And it was all in the magic of this pillow, which I had the idea really last minute, but I knew I was going to be in isolation as well. So I knew like my only interactions were going to be with the doctors and nurses who were taking care of me. So I said, I know I'm going to be missing my cats really hard. And I was going to miss my boyfriend too, but at least I could talk to him on the phone and FaceTime with him. I can't talk to my cats. I can't feel their purring on me or their kneading or just pick them up and hug them. So I had the idea to make this pillow. So I went onto Etsy, submitted a picture, had someone make me a pillow. And I can't begin to explain to you how many amazing connections I made with other cat lovers because of this pillow and how it brightened my day every day. Whether it was a PCA coming in to take my blood pressure, they'd say, oh my God, are those your cats? They're so cute. And then they would start telling me about their cats or their cat that they had when they were growing up. Or one of the nurse practitioners learned all of my cats' names. And every time she saw me, how's Kevin? How's Khaleesi? How's Cal? What's going on at home? What are your cats up to? Do you have any funny stories to share? They all knew that my cats were so special to me that they really incorporated it into my care. And it didn't seem intentional. It seemed so natural and just so genuine that it really made my time there a little bit easier and a little bit more comforting because, of course, as cat lovers, we love to talk about our cats. And
no, really?
And that's what this podcast is for. And we're really hoping to grow a community too.
Yeah.
Of people who like to talk about cats, who can, meet somebody through the Jersey PodCatss and get on the phone with them and talk about cats for an hour or get on Zoom.
Absolutely.
And yeah, because one thing
Nicole's
we
like,
say,
I'm in. I'll be the president of the cat club.
Yeah, one thing we say is like our families are kind of sick of hearing about our cats.
Yeah.
That's just a wonderful story. I love that pillow. What a creative, brilliant idea. And what do you think, Stray?
So I would love to hear about how you got your cats, because I know, like, for example, Cal and Khaleesi, they're siblings. So they both came from the same, litter. you feed them the same things, they have the same home. Talk a little bit about their personalities, because I find that interesting too. I think that helps people appreciate cats more too.
Sure. So we got Cal and Khaleesi, my boyfriend and I, on a whim. It was just 6 years ago. It was December 5th, 6 years ago. One of the teachers I worked with, her mom found 2 kittens in a box of buttons and bows. Not even making this up. She worked at like some kind of hardware store, and in their holiday things, a mama cat had kittens and abandoned them in the warehouse. So she bottle fed them and took care of them and was going to give them to the animal shelter for adoption. But her daughter started asking around, does anyone want kittens? So we went there with the intention of only getting the male cat, because she said the female cat already had a home lined up. So there were only 2 kittens. She bottle fed them. And she actually also had a husky who became like a mother to these little kittens. So our cats just have the funniest personalities, because she found them before their eyes were even open. And then she had this husky who was snuggling with them and taking care of them as she was bottle feeding them. So they really have special personalities. But anyways,
huskies must be special too, because with the rescue that I work with, we had a cat that got adopted by a family that had a husky and a chinchilla. And became best friends. I'll have to share pictures of it later. It's the cutest thing. And they look like they're related. It's so funny.
I had a cat, and we lived in an apartment complex, and we'd leave the door open, and the guy across from us would leave his door open. He had this big dog. And our cat would go over there and sleep with his dog. It's that's a story for another episode about cats.
How people think, I can't have a cat because I have a dog.
But another episode too is weird places that cats are found. Because my Mercutio was found in a dumpster behind a Best Buy. And when we got him, we thought somebody dumped him there. But then after we had him and saw how wild he was, we think he probably climbed in there himself looking for food. Anyway, that's for another day.
So when we go to get the male cat, because that was the only one available, we're talking to the woman, playing with the kittens, and she says it would be so nice if they could be adopted together. And I said, well, you said that the female cat had a home. And she goes, it kind of fell through, and I would prefer, if she's like, they're so bonded, if they went home together. And I said, well, I guess I'm getting 2 cats today. And it's a running joke between my boyfriend and I, because the woman only wanted $20 for each kitten, just to cover like the expenses that she had paid taking care of them. So I only brought $20 with me. And I looked at my boyfriend, and we actually hadn't been dating very long at the time, maybe like 2
He's
months.
Like, what am I getting into?
Well, it's funny because he no problem was like, oh, I have $20, no problem. And to this day, he will say that Khaleesi is his cat because he paid for her, and that if we ever do break up, he's taking Khaleesi because it's his cat. Not that we always just.
Well, I guess you're never breaking up then, right?
No, we can't.
The kids keep the family together.
Staying together for the cats.
Yeah, and it's funny because that happened with one of our first cats too, Callie. Not Khaleesi, Callie. How funny is that? They're similar. Where she followed me home from the trail behind my house, and then just like kind of wouldn't leave. And I think I shared already that my neighbors helped pitch in and say, we hate to see this cat outside. Begged my husband, please, 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 can we have this cat? Because I was traveling a ton, so it would have been his responsibility too. And within like a week of the cat being in the house, she's like, I played you. I'm his cat, not yours. Best friends. Not that she didn't want anything to do with me, but she was definitely his cat. Would come running down the stairs when she heard his car. So it's cool how cats pick their people and how people pick their cats.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I adopted Max from the ASPCA site. I didn't realize he was down in Kentucky at a shelter, and I brought him home. And Richard was out doing a triathlon. My husband. The minute Richard came in, Max teetered up to him on these oversized paws because he's a polydactyl and he couldn't run because he was so weak and starving. Teetered up to my husband and was like, can you hold me? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm the one that drove.
I did all the work.
I did all the work. And he loves you. But that's okay.
So, but that means that we've got great guys. It means the cats sense that, they're good people. Getting some brownie points because my husband's working right over there while we're recording.
And Khaleesi does share the love between the two of us. But flash forward 5 years, last November, our friend's cat had kittens, and it was right before Thanksgiving, and they were going to Florida for 10 days, and they live right up the street from us. So they asked me if I'd be able to come over twice a day to check on the mama cat, make sure the kittens were okay, feed them and everything. So the day that these cats were born, I started going over to take care of them.
And then you were
of
doomed
course,
from that day.
Yeah, doomed. Yeah. I don't know how.
And actually, that was
more.
around the time that you and I were, we were supporting the Willow Rescue Foundation, remember? And there was the cats, and you kept saying, oh, I wish I could take another one in. I just can't. And then the universe said, no, you're gonna just wait.
Yeah, pretty much. So I ended up going.
Well, I just want to say quickly, that's why I can't do what Danielle does with her Tommy's cat rescue. She goes and finds cats and helps them find homes, but I would want to adopt every single one of them. So I'm sorry. Go on, Nicole, please.
You know, I totally relate with you. If we had more space, we probably would have more cats. So as I'm taking care of these cats, as our friends are away, I'm seeing their eyes open for the first time, taking their first steps, starting to play. And I am just totally falling in love with these cats. There was 2 full black and 2 full gray kittens, and they were just adorable. And my boyfriend, every time I went to their house, he said, you are not getting one of these kittens, because every year for Christmas he asks me what I want, and every year I tell him either a kitten or a ring, so choose wisely. So at last year I got the kitten because he kept telling me, you're not getting a kitten, you're not getting a kitten. And then slowly things from Amazon started showing up at the door for kittens. We got a little playpen to keep him separate from our other 2 cats, and then we took him home on New Year's Eve, and it just was amazing to see the connection between my other 2 cats and now Kevin, our kitten, whose name's Kevin from Home Alone, because our first 2 cats are Cal and Khaleesi with a K. And so we were trying to think of a name with the K, and our friends who we got the kitten from, they have 4 kids, and we were at their house and we were all kind of just shouting out K names, and Home Alone was on. So all 4 kids started chanting, Kevin, Kevin, Kevin. So you're like, okay, I guess our cat's name is Kevin, but it just seems so fitting for him, because more than once I've had to yell at him like the mom and
Nicole, I have known a lot of cats. I've never met a cat named Kevin before. That's great. But I do want to say, Danielle, or Stray, you do have to follow up with Nicole this Christmas and see what happens with her gift this Christmas. I want to know. We'll have to tell you on a later show what happened.
Yeah. I know it's funny too, is while you were talking about the names of cats, I think it's cool how people have like animal pet names and then human names, because I did that too. We did Loki and Thor to kind of keep them themed. And Thor's name was actually kind of sad because he had been found abandoned at an apartment with 9 other cats. So he had no family. So that's why my husband picked Thor, and Thor went with Loki because, you know, Thor has no family. And then we wound up with Derek and Tony, which are human names, but we named those after Ben Stiller characters, which I shared last time. And maybe someday Ben will come on, and hopefully he's a cat lover too, Ben Stiller.
That would be awesome. Well, I had Checkers, who died in April. She was the most phenomenal cat. And she was a calico. That's why my name is Calico, but she had a checkerboard on her head, so we named her Checkers. But my other cats all have human names. So we have Mercutio from Romeo and Juliet. We call him Cushy. Lily was named Lily when we got her, and it just fit. And then Max, the whole reason
for this
I wanted
podcast.
to start this podcast. So more about Max in a future episode, probably.
Now, Nicole, can we go back to talking about your hospital experience? So you were able to take something that was so difficult and so 6 weeks being separated, it's a big deal. You're welcome to share as much or as little as you want, but how else would you say just the fact that you kind of owned up to your cat loverness? That's the way I look at it. You know, how awesome that made the better connections you had in the hospital and the friendships that you formed as a result of that.
Yeah, it just opened up so many conversations that were so unexpected. Like my social worker, she came twice a week, and majority of the time we would be talking about cats, because she also had a cat that she really loved. And we joked, her cat's name was Janet, and we joked that Janet and Kevin would sound like an old married couple that had the soccer van and lived in the suburbs. And it just really brightened my day to have something to take my mind off of all the things that I was going through. because there were some days where I just could barely open my eyes. I wasn't feeling so well. But then soon as someone would come in and ask me about my cats, it just, brightened me up. And I started looking forward to these conversations because I was hopeful that they were coming. And even I'm forgetting the best part. So they had an art therapist who goes around and does art with different patients if they want to. So I love art. So the first time that the art therapist came in, we did this little project. I made like a picture frame and we were chatting and she saw my pillow. So we started talking about cats and she was telling me how she had a cat when she was younger, but developed an allergy later in life and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, I finished my project and she was like, well, what would you like to do for your next project? So a few years ago, my boyfriend and I did one of those paint and sip parties, but it was a paint your own pet. So he painted Khaleesi and I painted Cal, and I was showing the art therapist the paintings that we did. And she goes, I have canvas and paint. She goes, do you want to paint Kevin? Because I told her, our newest cat, we hadn't painted yet. So she printed a picture so I could trace Kevin's. She helped me go through all the pictures I have and we picked one out. She printed it. All the nurses were like going gaga at the nurses station over the picture that I chose. And she came in for like 3 or 4 more sessions. And while I was in the hospital, I got to paint Kevin, which painting is so therapeutic, and just having conversations with the art therapist was just so enjoyable. And it really was like the highlight, if you can say that there's a highlight to a 6-week hospital stay. It was just so special to be able to spend time with this wonderful, incredible art therapist who I just really, really enjoyed spending time with. And then now I have right above our bed, we have the 2 pictures of Cal and Khaleesi that we had painted previously. And then Kevin's is right in the middle.
I love it. So I'm a big, big believer of the power of art and animals and all this fun stuff. And I actually, behind me, whoever's watching on YouTube, I actually have some digital art because I'm super cool. And I attended CatCon virtually last year. And I actually met this really cool artist where she does watercolor paintings, oil paintings of cats. And I actually am going to reach out to her about being on the show too. But I actually just purchased another one because this is our late Callie with Thor and Loki. But she's going to make a new one with Derek and Tony too. So I'll have 2 back there soon. And it just brings me joy.
Well, I want to go back to the cats in the hospital stay. So my daughter is a nurse, and she worked at a hospital in the brain injury unit, and people could be there for a long time. And it was kind of sad, but it was heartening to her to see the progress they could make. But there was one gentleman there who was older. She's in her 20s, so I don't know what old means to her exactly, but he was older, and he was the most popular man on the whole floor because they would bring his cat in, and he had this big, beautiful, furry cat. And it was a really friendly cat. It would let everybody pet it. And really, that cat added so much joy to that floor, and people loved seeing it and having it come in and petting it. So I do think if pets are allowed in the hospital and people can bring them in, it really is a great idea to do that. And I'm sorry, Nicole, that you were isolated and you couldn't have your pets, because that would have made a huge difference for you, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I think Kevin hears us talking about him because I think I see him behind you again.
Oh, he is.
So I think you should snatch him up and say hello.
Funny because everyone I spoke to about my cats were like, have your boyfriend sneak a cat in. We won't tell anyone.
I've actually spoken with a few organizations locally for where I am in Monmouth County, New Jersey, to see if they would be open to allowing the friendlier or maybe the older cats that we need assistance with foster space.
There's Kevin.
Oh, and you know what too? What's the funniest thing that Kevin does? I know I just completely stopped mid-thought, but I can't help it. There's an adorable cat on the video.
So Kevin loves to play fetch with his spring. And his favorite time to play fetch with his spring is when I'm going to the bathroom. So we are not allowed to close our bathroom doors in our house because the cats, no matter what time of day it is, barge in. But Kevin will barge in with his spring and drop it at my feet and meow at me to throw it. So here I am doing my, what I got to do in the bathroom and throwing his spring, and he brings it back. So I end up being in the bathroom for much longer than I need to be. But the other day, this happened, and I finish up in the bathroom and I go onto the couch and I hear him crying, and I'm like, what is he doing? So I get up and look. His spring is in the bathroom and he's laying in front of it crying because he wants me to come through it, but from the bathroom. So he is a wild cat. He will cry if his spring gets stuck under like a door or the refrigerator. He'll just sit there and cry. He does that. And he also loves to play with ice cubes. So if he hears us in the freezer, he will immediately come sit at our feet. And then I'll say, all right, go get ready. And he goes and he sits right outside of the kitchen, and we throw him ice cubes and he launches in the air and catches them. And then he chases them all around.
That's so funny.
So he's more like a circus animal.
Yeah, that reminds me of this question. Cats cannot be owned, but when you live with a cat, who owns who?
Okay. He is definitely in charge, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because that reminded me of my Tony. So his favorite toy, we thought, was one of the stick toys with a string and it has the feathers on the end. Is when I was fostering him. So newsflash for everybody, I was a foster fail, in case you didn't catch up on that yet. But 2 of my last cats were my fosters that I just couldn't give up when they were ready to go.
Yeah, and that's why I don't foster Danielle or Stray.
Yeah, well, I don't anymore. That's why I focus on the advocacy and the support and the fundraising and all that side, because I just can. And I trap when I can, depending on how I'm feeling with my hands. But the funny thing is we thought that's the toy he was obsessed with. And then it broke and we were like, oh no, buddy, we're gonna have to get rid of it. He really was just obsessed with the string and the little piece of metal hanging off the end. So for his safety, my husband took a zip tie and just tied it to the end so that he couldn't get hurt by the little sharp part of the metal. His favorite toy, he drags it around the house and he sits like this, like super proud, like waiting. And same thing, he'll drag it upstairs. If you ignore him or walk over him, he'll drag it to where you are and start crying. So cats are super funny, man.
Yeah, so Max likes to put his toys in the water bowl. I don't know why.
Oh my gosh.
And then they go drink out of the toilet.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, what? So I don't understand what and the vet is like, yeah, that's fine as long as you don't have any chemicals in the toilet. I'm like, we don't, because we're worried they're gonna drink out of the toilet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's never had a cat actually put his toys in the water dishes before.
Me neither.
He's part, I did his base paws, he's part Maine Coon and he's got some other things in him. I don't know what the traits of Maine Coon are, but maybe that's part of it. But yeah, he's a really black tabby, like really dark tabby. So he'll show up one of these days, I'm sure, on the video.
Yeah.
Well, if you go to our intro video on our website, he's in there. Is that on the website or it's on our YouTube channel?
YouTube.
Yeah, he's on there.
All right.
So my Khaleesi likes to put her toys in her food dish, not her water dish.
Weird.
So of course I Googled it. I'm like, why is my cat putting her toys in her food dish? And it says that they put them there for safekeeping. So I wonder if the water dish is similar.
Like hide the smell of it. Cats are weird, man. I love them.
That's where it says they could be putting it there for safekeeping.
Well, I kind of want to put out to our listeners now, because I feel like we could talk all day, which we already decided we could. But if anything we talked about today sparks an interest for you, or if you have answers to any of the stuff we're bringing up, like why do cats do these crazy things, feel free to reach out on our website. We have a phone number you can call and leave a voicemail on, or send us a text, or maybe you can come and be on the show too.
Yeah, one thing, I had sent Danielle a couple questions I had for future episodes.
Yes.
But one thing that's been bugging me for a long time, and I don't know that anybody really knows the answer to this, but why are cats so soft? It's like not all animals are soft, but did cats evolve to be soft so humans would take them in and take care of them? Or my daughter said, did humans evolve to where they like the feel of the cat's fur? So it's kind of like, it's really weird that this little creature running around would be so pleasurable for us to touch, right? That's one. Another one is, if you've got a big pill, how do you get it down a cat? We tried a few things the other day. We tried crushing it up in a mortar and pestle and mixing it with a little bit of water. We put too much water in, so we got like half of it down the cat. And then I've tried like cutting it up with bits of butter, but like you only really get one try to shove something down a cat's throat if they don't want to.
So I have some suggestions for that. We definitely can cover those in the next episode. So we want some people to call in and give us their suggestions too, because I've tried a ton. And then just working with the rescue too. There's some really creative things I've seen people do. My friend actually made a video for me because I was so terrified of doing it. for my cat. I thought I was going to hurt them. Like you can't really hurt a cat. They have 9 lives.
No.
So,
well, my Checkers, before she died, she could clamp her mouth shut so tight. A linebacker on the Giants could not pry it open. I'm not kidding.
Go Giants.
Yeah. She just like that cat had such a strong will. It was amazing. So anyway, so that is one thing I would like to hear suggestions on, because I think different things can work on different cats. I had one cat that would take pills, no problem. Right. But this one, they hate anything you try to put on their face or down their throat or whatever.
Yeah, you got to trick them and you have to make them think it's their idea. That's what I've come to the conclusion of.
And with Max, I crushed it up and I had given him those squeeze up things that cats love, right? And I gave him the first one a couple days ago. Loved it. Crushed up the pill, put it in 2 squeeze up things. He wouldn't touch it. He knows.
No.
Like this cat is so smart.
Okay, fine. I'll give you my secret. So Thor, he needs to take medication every morning. And the way that we finally got it to happen, I could share all the other things I tried were sort of kind of happened to work until he figured out what was going on. If he smells the pill at all, he won't touch it. So like I can't even like touch the pill too much before I put it in. I rip the gravy tube, we call it gravy tubes at my house, open, plop the whole, I'll do a video of it because for people who aren't watching, they're like, what is she talking about? Plop it open, put the pill in, and then you have to squeeze up, which is funny because that's the name of it. We should start getting paid for these little plugs, where the gravy covers the pill. And then you literally have to do it where he's up high enough where right when he's about to start licking it, I shove it so that the tube and the pill, it's a science, goes right into his mouth. And then before he knows what's going on, the pill's gone.
I want to see a
video.
video.
Smells it, I'll make a video. If he licks it, smells it, sees it, you're done. He jumps down and leaves.
So you'll put that video on the Jersey PodCatss YouTube channel, right?
Yep, we'll get that. We'll get Loki's massage and morning routine. Your eyes are like, how do I have a life and time to do anything else? But
right. And on the YouTube channel, you can see Nicole's pillow, which was such a great idea. That is very cool.
Show that again. It makes me happy.
This was the only picture I had that all 3 of them were in it and looking. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I hired the artist, because she was able to take all my multiple pictures and make it look like they were all in the same picture.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Nicole, for being on. I'm so happy that you're feeling better and doing well.
Yeah,
thank you
for
having me.
Yeah, I mean,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, if somebody else is going to go in the hospital, I would take Nicole's advice. I would steal her idea and have just, you go on Etsy, right? And you download a picture and they make you this wonderful pillow and it gives you something for people to talk to you about. I mean, because what is a nurse going to ask you about in the hospital? Like, they don't want to pry when they, how are you feeling today? You get that a million times.
Or do you have kids? Are you married? So you could just block their conversation, say, hey, look at my pillow.
Right. And then you have something to remember your cats with. I mean, I think that was such a brilliant idea. So if you're going to go in the hospital, God forbid, but we all have to do that sometimes, and you need a prop, go on Etsy. I wonder if they could even make one shaped like a cat. I'm sure they could make one shaped like your cat, right?
You could do anything with anything at this point.
Right. But take something that you can snuggle that is almost like your cat, and that will be a conversation starter. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I see your cat in the background.
I was just going to say, so right as we're leaving, and I'm so glad that the Jersey PodCatss sign made it through the whole thing. Because last episode, right before I hit record, Loki walked right up and went and boop, and went flying all over the floor. And I was like, you couldn't even get that on video, bud. That would have been helpful if you got that on video. So, well, thank you everybody for listening in. Make sure to go to our website, subscribe, like, do all that fun stuff on YouTube and anywhere else you're listening to podcasts.
So we are the Jersey PodCatss. Thank you, Nicole.
Bye. Thank you.
We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. Give this podcast a rating so other cat lovers can find it. Connect with the Jersey PodCatss on social media or visit thejerseypodcatss.com and leave a message sharing a story or question about cats. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode.